All right, let's get this bad boy. Oh, crap. Not again. For those of you who don't know, sometimes I like to hide my drone in a very secret place. Please be in here. Ah, there it is. She's a little dusty, but I think she'll fly. What you are currently looking at are called caveates, a combination of the word cave and excavate, and they were hand-carved by the Native Americans. To set the expectation for this video, not all of the shallow caves and caveates that I'm about to show you were created by the Native Americans. Some are simply the result of erosion, and I would argue that some of the smaller ones were created by the aid of wildlife that calls these cliffs home. I'll let you be the judge of which ones were created by man and which ones were created by nature. In my opinion, for some of them, I think you can easily tell which ones were made by man due to their depth, perfect shape, symmetry, and of course the ones with the stone walls held together by mud. They're kind of a dead giveaway. The caveates were created by the Sinagua civilization that called the Verde Valley home over 900 years ago, and what I'm showing you here is a small handful of the caveates that exist in this region. Further downstream from here, there is a more popular site, which I'm not going to say the name of, to help keep the weirdos out. But that site is what I consider the mecca of caveates, with over 300 rooms, and it was estimated that up to 250 Sinagwan occupied them. I did do a video on that one in the past, and I will link that one down in the description so that way you can watch it after this video. After flying my drone through here for the first few minutes, you start to wonder what day-to-day life was like, and the amount of effort that went into sustaining life out here. Sure, they did live next to a river which flowed year-round, which meant a regular supply of water, but in the summer, it can get pretty darn hot out here, and the temps during the winter can drop as low as 38 degrees. And on top of that, can you imagine the repeated treks up and down this cliff to go get things like food and water? These people had to be tough as iron, especially doing it with no hiking shoes. And speaking of hiking, I was able to. Well, you know what? I'm gonna save that and let that be a surprise for you guys. Just keep in mind that this video is far from over, and I do have a couple more surprises up my sleeve for you, so stick around. After spending some time through here flying my drone around, it occurred to me that there are probably thousands of these caveates along the Verde River. The river flows for miles and miles, and if you look at the river on Google Maps, you will see that there are lots of sections of the river where roads do not go due to how remote it is, and there are also areas where even your toughest 4x4 vehicle couldn't make it due to the rugged terrain. So the only ways you'd be able to scope out the land and see if there were more are if you went in on foot or flew in by plane. I also believe that there are probably more caveates here than what we can see with the naked eye. Hear me out on this one. If there was no opening here and this was all sealed off by their man-made walls, from a distance and without the aid of a drone, you would have no idea that this was a wall and that there was a room behind it. Now, thinking about that on a larger scale, of the roughly 60 miles of river that flows through the valley here, starting from Paulden, Arizona, all the way down to the larger caveate site, I think there might be hundreds more of these that we haven't discovered yet, simply because they blend in so well with the environment. I know that might seem like a little bit of a stretch, but I think it's possible. What do you guys think? Another belief of mine is that because this site was so far away from the much larger site, I think it could have been used as a communication site. Allow me to clarify. You see, many ancient cultures around the world have used smoke signals to communicate from long distances, to signal incoming danger or ceremonies. The Hohokam civilization, which settled in the Phoenix Valley, also used smoke signals. Therefore, I don't think it would be too far-fetched to believe that the Sanaguan did as well. Between this site and the larger one downstream, there are countless caveates and ruins, and if they did use smoke signals to communicate, it would also support why there are so many of these sites spaced out along the river. And before we wrap things up here, if you're wondering why they built these caveates so high up on cliffs, I have an answer for you. You see, first of all, I'm not so sure that these were that high when you think about what the environment was like over 900 years ago. I found an interpretive sign at one of the sites that stated the river was nearly 20 feet higher back then compared to what it is now. And another article I found stated that at times it was probably significantly higher than 20 feet, especially when they had wetter seasons. There's a thing you know. Well, that was pretty awesome. That was pretty amazing. There is so much to see here, and I think once it cools off a little bit more here in the winter months, I think we're going to hike over to some of those and go inside and check them out. But we're going to head further down the road here because this canyon goes for miles and miles, and we're just going to see what else we can find. But first, now you may be asking yourself, but Robert, why do you put your drone in your air filter housing? Well, for one thing, I'm not Robert, and number two, I'll tell you later. Let's get going. I was just about ready to take off until I heard this. This is the Verde Canyon Railroad Tour, and believe it or not, I have not done a tour here, yet. But after seeing the train make its departure and imagining what the experience would be like, I can say with great certainty that I will be taking a tour out here very, very soon. And I'll be sure to link their website down in the description in case you guys would like to book a tour of your very own. But here's a brief overview on what you can expect. So first off, they do operate year-round, and in my opinion, I think the best time to go would be during fall when the leaves are changing colors. It is a 40-mile round trip that lasts approximately 4 hours, and while you're aboard, there is a variety of snacks, drinks, and adult beverages. Now, I don't know about you, but I do fancy a cold beer on a crisp autumn day. And on top of that, they do have an open viewing car where you can get 360-degree views as the train meanders through the canyons. I'm sure the folks here were a little surprised to see a drone keeping up with them along the ride, but judging by the waves, I'm sure this only added to their experience. And by the way, this was filmed on October 24th, 2025, and if you know anyone that has recently done a train ride here, share this video with them. They might just see themselves on camera. And just in case anyone is wondering, I shot this on the DJI Mini 4 Pro, and all the cameras, drones, and accessories that I use to make these videos are linked down in the description. The train ride does follow along the Verde River, and even though I haven't done this yet, I know it would feature some of the best views of those stunning red rock canyons. And I'm sure along the way, if you keep your eyes peeled, you'll probably spot more cliff dwellings. And just to be very clear, they did not ask me to make this video featuring the train ride. It's just one of those situations where I happen to get lucky and be at the right place at the right time. And if you have ever done the Verde Canyon Railroad tour before, feel free to share your experience with us down in the comments section. I was on a little bit of a time crunch, but I knew if I passed this up, it would eventually eat me up inside, not knowing what it was. This was Tapco, the Arizona power company. This oil-fired steam plant was built to supply power to the mining operations in the area. It operated from 1917 all the way up until 1958, when copper mining in Jerome came to a halt, and the demand for electricity drastically fell. An interpretive sign that I later found online stated the following: the plant's location was selected out of convenience for their largest customer, the United Verde Copper Company, who mined copper in Jerome and brought it to Clarkdale for smelting. The Tapco provided a much-needed electricity source for the heyday of mining era in Clarkdale. Despite the fact that Google said this road is not recommended for your standard passenger vehicles, I had to put this to the test because, for one, I already made it this far out here, and I am not throwing in the towel so easily. Number two, if the road was as bad as they say it is, then I would simply just turn around when I couldn't go any further. And number three, the location that I'm heading out to is a very popular place when it comes to spotting a certain wildlife that I've been looking for. So I was really excited about that. And I guess number four, I have a tendency to not listen. Just ask my last girlfriend, and she'll tell you that I rarely listened to her and never absorbed anything she said, or something like that. I'm not sure. I wasn't really paying attention. Little change of plans. The route that I had planned, I couldn't make it all the way out there because this road is pretty rough and I'm driving a little four-banger here. But I think that's okay because I think we got far enough to where I can get some good shots of the rivers, the cliffs, and there's actually a bridge, and I think I see some more cave dwellings. It could just be shadows. We won't know until I get the drone over there. But even though we couldn't go as far as I wanted, I think this turned out okay. There weren't too many alcoves out here worth exploring. Most that I did find were very small, shallow, and more than likely formed by erosion and not made by man, which was okay. I soon directed my attention to the trees along the river and honed in on the emerging fall colors. It was an absolutely gorgeous day out, and this is my favorite time of year. The days might be a little bit shorter, but the colors are vibrant, and the raw scent of autumn is in the air, the cool breeze tames the intensity of the piercing sun, and something about the sky around these parts this time of year looks different. I don't know how to explain it, but there's something about it that feels different. Maybe it's the fact that we're in a higher elevation and there's less smog in the air, which takes out a layer of haze so you can see the sky without any obstruction. What do you think? Now, I was about 2 seconds away from bringing my drone back to home base, and then something in the water caught my eye. Pay very close attention to the bottom part of the screen here, and I'll play this back a couple of times and zoom in. What you just saw here was the notorious and elusive river otter. Okay, that might be upselling it a little bit, but I don't care. If you guys have been following me for a minute now, you'll know that I've been trying to get a glimpse of this amazing little creature, and I finally did. Now, I may not have seen it directly with my own two eyes up and close, but seeing it with the drone was pretty cool. This little guy was fast too. He was in and out like a patient at urgent care, and even though we only saw this little feller for a few seconds, it was well worth it, and I'm definitely going to come back here again in the future and see if I can spot him again. And for those of you that don't know, Arizona used to have a native otter called the Sonoran River Otter, but it was wiped out in the early 1800s, mainly due to overtrapping from early settlers. But a similar otter species from Louisiana was reintroduced into the Verde River Valley in the 1980s, and it's safe to say that this adorable little aquatic animal is making a comeback. Until next time, my little otter friend. How cool was that, guys? We finally got a glimpse of the elusive river otter here in the Verde River. That was so cool. But right now, I think we're gonna pack up and we're gonna head out because there's a lot of gunshots over there. And I'm sure it's probably just someone shooting targets or someone hunting, which is just fine. Go Second Amendment, do your thing. But when you're flying a drone over here and you hear gunshots, I just kind of take that as a sign to pack it up and move somewhere else. They're probably just doing their own thing and having a good time. Fine, but rednecks, if they are, they don't always play by the rules. And if they think you're messing with them or scaring their game, they will shoot your drone out of the sky. So we're gonna pack up and leave here, give them their space, and maybe we'll just come back another time.
A few moments later.
Look at that. I think I know what they were shooting at now. Run! Run! Avoid becoming a packaged snack on a shelf at Walmart. Typically, I do not share locations, but this one's, it's no secret and it's very well known. So if you can figure out where it's at and make it out here and you have the guts to do this hike,
more power to you.
Time was definitely of the essence on this hike because it was already around 3:30, and this time of year the sun sets at 6. Being that we were at the bottom of the Verde Valley, I really only had until the sun dipped behind the mountains, which was roughly another hour and a half. And when you factor in the time it would take me to get to the top and the additional stops that I would make along the way, every second was crucial. Not to mention doing a hike like this in blue jeans, Adidas shoes, and a Kiss t-shirt didn't make things any easier. But then again, I did not plan on making this video that particular day, but my plans ended up getting pushed around, and it just sort of worked out that way. And one thing that I've learned after doing this for a while is some of my best experiences and videos were unplanned and made at the last second. Sometimes you just have to find a way to make ice cream out of horse turds.
I remember reading out here that there are shards of pottery all over the place. And I wonder if this isn't a piece of pottery. Very, very smooth. Has that red tone to it. And there's actually quite a few of these out here. There's one right there. I don't know how well you can see them in the camera, but there are tons of these out here. This could also just be rock, but I got a feeling it's not. It would be really cool if we could find some with some painting on them. See a piece right there, and a piece right there. And then right here, we have another potential piece of pottery. I know a lot of people are gonna be like, oh, don't touch it, don't touch it, don't touch it. And well, you know what? You shouldn't. There's no guarantee this is pottery, but even if it is, I think there's a difference between if you find it in a cave or in a dwelling. But here, it's out on the trail. People are just gonna walk over it and it's going to erode, break apart, and one day it's not gonna be there. Again, not to say it's okay to touch it, but I mean, everyone kind of has their own different beliefs on it, but I think it'll be okay. I do believe that's a wall right there, made out of rocks and held together by mud. So cool. It almost seems like the higher we get, the bigger the pieces of pottery are getting. We're so close. This is insane. Wow. Here we are, everybody. Made it to the caveate. I'm hoping there's a way we can climb up there. Or another way around, because this way here looks too steep, but I'm sure the Native Americans also use those as little footholds. And here is another one of the rock walls, made roughly over 1,000 years ago, and it's still holding up. Looks like we'll be able to crawl in this one. It's only about a 0.8 mile hike up here, but that elevation, that'll creep up on you really fast. I thought these were bones at first, but they're just little tiny twigs. And over here, we have more pieces of pottery. And I think there's a museum not that far away from here that actually has some full pieces of pottery that they were able to dig out of here back in the 1800s, I want to say. Here's some branches that could very well have been here since these were created. I'm sure every single room and cubby here served a purpose. Now that I have my camera, I can get a closer look at these rocks here, and you can see all the individual stones that were used in creating this wall, especially these flat pieces right here. So amazing. Sometimes if you look really, really carefully, probably not these ones, but the ones in Roosevelt Lake, you can actually see some of the handprints from when they were kind of flattening this stuff out. You can see what was mud here. This stuff is fairly moist. And you got a big rock here, bigger rock there. That's rock, and then around it is just mud. That is the hole that I had to crawl through. It was not the easiest to do, but I made it. Ugh. Ugh. Whew. Whew. See if I can grab my remote. Come on. Oh, man. Now, before I tell you guys why I put my drone in the air filter housing in my car, I want to do a quick poll. I was thinking about maybe coming out here another time in proper attire and doing a more in-depth exploration of these caveates. If you guys want to see me do that, let me know down in the comment section below.
Aside from the caveates that I was currently exploring, there were dozens upon dozens more on the south side, and as many as there are here, this is not the largest grouping of caveates. The ones that I had mentioned earlier that I referred to as the Mecca of caveates with more than 300 rooms isn't that far from here, and it would probably take weeks upon weeks to explore all of them. However, I am thankful that I was able to poke my nose in a few of them here and get a small glimpse of how the Sinagwan lived many years ago.
Now there's two reasons why I use the air filter housing unit in my car to store my drone. The first reason is when that car is running, there is so much air being forced through there that it actually makes for a good cleaning mechanism to get all the dirt and debris out of not only the gimbal, but the propellers. And the second reason is, most people probably don't know this, but the plastic that the unit is made out of a special plastic that actually makes it so that way the government cannot track your drone. And most importantly, if you didn't know this, I made all of that up for fun, and if you want to see more desert exploration videos just like this one, click the playlist in the upper left-hand corner.